So we're going to do something kind of compare and contrast today. Just this passage. This is the passage we're dealing with in for the sermon today, and we'll look at that, but also kind of look at how Luke does it and kind of the differences and the similarities as well. All right. Um, let me go back just a couple verses and do this part and. From Matthew chapter 5, verse 1. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice, your reward is great in heaven, for so men persecuted the prophets who were before you. Okay, familiar? And we call those the Beatitudes. Great. And this comes from the Sermon on the Mount. Okay, great. See, that's so far so good. So, it's familiar. So, what do you hear? What jumps out? What do you think? Whatever you are, you're going to receive the well. Maybe except for mercy. Except for mercy. If you show mercy, you get mercy. Okay. Everything else, it's flip. Okay. There's hope. Oh wow! You see, I got to tell you one more time. When I read these, and so I don't expect anybody to go, oh, there's hope for all of us. Y'all kind of shock me every time, so I'm not never quite sure that there's hope for us. And yeah. Oh, okay. That we all kind of fall into a bracket. That's good. I like it. Oh, okay. Say more. Uh-huh. Poor in spirit as opposed to poor. Because, okay, great. And we'll get to that in a second. Hold on for Luke, okay? But because let's think about it. Blessed is these are the Beatitudes, or those are you're good for you, or blessed are you if this happens. So so when we say the word poor, someone is poor, the first thing we think of is money. Yeah, right. Okay. So when Matthew handles this passage, blessed are the poor in spirit, then it reframes the whole narrative. Because no matter how much one has monetarily, can be poor. I mean, I've had a lot of folks in my congregation through the years who've been very well off, but have had a lot of tragic aspects in their life, right? And it just seems like today every pop star we have out there today, they have money, but boy, they have tragic lives. And it's almost like the more tragic, the bigger they are. So that's true. That blessed are the poor in spirit. It does. Matthew's version of this kind of, again, let's keep in mind he's directing this to a crowd, to a certain group of people. and it's framed that way. You know, it's kind of the funny thing is that when people go, oh, I guess you just use sermons over and over and over, no matter what congregation, I'm like, I can't, because the congregations have all been different, and I have to approach each congregation in a different way. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And you have to know the congregation to know how to communicate. And, that's just the way that works. And so Matthew, his group has a different kind of, he's trying to approach him in a different way. So blessed are the poor in spirit. That's great. Let's put that over there, poor in spirit. Because in a second, we'll see what Luke does. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, he goes up on the mount. I mean, he goes up on the hill to speak out to people. Here on in Matthew again. We'll hold on, but so he goes up on the mountain, speaks down to him. Great. I mean, I know that Life of Brian is very offsetting for some people if they've ever watched it, where Brian is following the same path of Jesus. It goes wrong. And so they're standing out around the crowd, and Jesus is talking to them, and it was actually is what led to my dissertation. I didn't tell the Princeton Seminary that, but because I felt like they would have probably rejected it just based on principle. But in there's a line where somebody's at the back, and he's standing at the back of the crowd, and he hears Jesus say, "Blessed are the peacemakers." And he goes, "Blessed are the cheesemakers. What did they do?" and so I don't know, it just cracked me up. I just thought that was the funniest line in the world. And then I was sitting there thinking, well, yeah, what is it if people really misunderstand the sermon and they don't hear what you said? And so what does that do for the communication, the interaction? And so that great point. So he's talking to the disciples, but you get the impression too he's also talking beyond just the 12. Yeah, mm, yeah. That's and ultimately that is the kind of the framework that even in like when in church growth dynamics and evangelism, you know, um, that they talk about that the I don't mean to pick on a person, but the Billy Graham Crusade, they go and they'd have you'd have all these throngs of people, and then they'd come down and make these decisions. Well, they followed up the next year. Out of every 100, you know how many were still left in any kind of connection to a church? 7 on average, right? Okay. But the number is if you have this one person invite 3 people to church and then extrapolate that out to those 3, that the whole notion of how it works is so much greater than any kind of crusade you could ever do. That's insane, but just 3, 1 to 3. So that's the deal. Everybody 3, just got to get 3 people, and then pow, it just blows up. Okay, what else jumps out at these or us? Uh-huh. Okay. They don't feel very blessed. You mean the people that are listening to him? Yeah. 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 A lot of hope here. I'll put that up at the top. Okay. So do we all agree with these? These are good. We think these are right. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, because they'll be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Have you, okay, why? Why? Okay, yeah, you see this? I love it. Everybody goes, yeah, this is good. Do you believe this? Eh. Hey, y'all, come on in. Yeah, the meek part gets us right. Meek. Yeah. Blessed are the peacemakers. Okay. Okay, well now, now let's go look at Luke's version. All right? And see what we see and see how they look. And so let me just skip back a couple verses to give you another, just a little difference. Okay, here he's where? He's up on the mountain. Great. Luke's version. Okay, and he came down with them and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people. Okay, so this, yeah, level place. So we call this one the Sermon on the Mount, and we call this one the Sermon on the Plain. Okay? Again, let's hold on. Let's read them first, and then we'll make a decision. Let me see. I mean, hang in there. Well, there's all kinds of arguments, plenty of dissertations to go around, for these. Okay, so here we go, and call them out to me, or if you hear let me read them, and then we'll talk about the differences. Luke's version. Blessed are you poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who that hunger now, for you shall be satisfied. Blessed are you that weep, for you shall laugh. Blessed are you. Oh, and I'm leaving out the woes, aren't I? Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, this parallel kind of makes that printing very small. Okay, let me go back and do them again. Blessed are you poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. But woe to you that are rich, for you have received your consolation. And blessed are you that are hunger now, for you shall be satisfied. Woe to you that are full now, for you shall hunger. Blessed are you that weep now, for you shall laugh. Woe to you that laugh now, for you shall mourn and weep. Blessed are you when men hate you, and they exclude you and revile you and cast out your name as evil on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is great in heaven. So their fathers did to the prophets. Woe to you when all men speak well of you, for so that your fathers did to the false prophets. Okay. Yeah, you get Luke puts in the woes, Okay, so we know one here is poor in spirit, and the difference is Luke says, blessed are the poor. Wow. Okay. We sure we agree with that? Well, yeah, yeah. Right, and also remember, audience means everything. Or, or, yeah, but maybe he's talking to a crowd of people who are less fortunate. He's saying, "Blessed are the poor," and then you go, "Oh, I feel better about myself now." Woe to you, people are out there who've got it all together, because, in the future, yeah, it's just like, enjoy it now because it's over. yeah. This is much more. Yeah, I should have this one up here. I've got my hardback Bible up here now, but this is what I had shoulder surgery for, so I could. The doctor, when I did my first he said, "You're a minister. You don't need your arm anyway," and I was like, I said, "I do too, because I'm telling people they're going to hell," and he was not amused, but is not amused. But uh, yeah. Oh no, I just this version kind of just puts them side by side to show the woes. I'm sorry, and it's just showing the contrast. Sorry. Yeah, this is a parallel. This is a Greek translation, and I mean, it puts all four gospels side by side, so you see where they are. And these are not found in any of the other gospels, just these two. Okay. Yeah, that's what it sounds like it's saying, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, see, there's a. That's a great question. What determines because everyone when people sit around and look at this version, um, let's ask ourselves in what is the scale? Because if we go on global scale, um, we as Americans, oh yeah, we're the woe. Okay, yeah, we're in a lot of trouble. Oh no no no! Earlier you said you like this one. You can. I mean, yeah. Well, none of us want to feel like we're part of the woke group. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And that also plays into how each one of these two is dealing with these passage, because Matthew obviously is not interested in the woe part, right? Because he didn't put it in. He doesn't talk about it at all. This is he is a Presbyterian pastor here, right here. He's making everybody feel good. Yeah. You say, "Blessed are the poor in spirit." And then everybody goes, "Whew, we feel good there. We thought he was just going to stop at poor." Yeah, because we're Presbyterians and we ain't poor. you know. Yeah, that's right. That's Luke's version. Huh. Okay. So where else? Okay. Blessed are those who hunger now. Not blessed are those who hunger for righteousness, but blessed are those who hunger. Much more of a physical issue here. Hunger for righteousness. No, he's not. God. Huh? hmm Okay, okay. So now, good question, or good guesstimate. So now it brings us back to Daryl's question. Which one's right? Oh, we got plenty of time. Both, okay? Both are right. And it depends on which one you need to hear. That's right. Okay, that's good. The audience, it, it, it really, 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 really is important, that first audience. And even probably, I would almost contend as well, and I don't know how this would play out. I better think about it before I say it out loud. But I would contend that from a writing rhetorical standpoint, the second audience, the one that's hearing this written, might even be more important than the ones who actually heard it in person, because they're framing it to go in the same way for their people. Right. These what we call the Beatitudes. I don't know. I mean, there's some a couple of things as far as Mark. If we agree and everybody, I hold to the thing that Mark was first. Mark's framework is the original, and I'm gonna go to my grave on that one. That one's not gonna change. Um, Probably not. But it could be that that's a source that we call Q source, which is just German for source. So source from the source that Luke and Matthew had available to them since they're later than Mark. Possible. So they got it after he did, and they put it in. And then John, he's so much later, it just didn't fit his story, so he just didn't use it. Well, they did start, yeah, yeah. It all began from oral and then passed down. But there are people that suggest that the Q source was written, but we've never found it. So, I mean, yeah, I'm just, mm, yeah, mm-hmm, right. Great question. See, that's the whole Jesus seminar. What did Jesus really say? Um, yeah, we were. Yeah, I mean, and then it's also not to discount what we have. I mean, no, no, yeah, uh, I know. I just, I know. I do that all the time too with this. It's like, geez, wouldn't it have been great to have a tape recorder? Of course, then again, what do you mean? They're in the 60s, 70s, late 60s, 70s, in that time. So and they're pretty close together. So it's after the fall of Jerusalem, turn of the century. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Well, because they were such an oral tradition that I mean, they didn't have paper like we. I mean, it just wasn't. It's hard for us to kind of read back our culture. It's kind of like, does are we at the point where when people go, boy, what was it like before we had one of these? Some people don't know what it's like not to have one of these. I mean, right? You don't know what life is like without one of these. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can barely remember my bag phone that I used to carry around thinking I'm cool. It's just, yeah, but I mean, this notion of they couldn't just go write stuff down because I mean, we got paper I mean, I've got so many post-it notes in the office. I mean, that I got. I can write stuff all day long. Then I can't keep up with it. Yeah. And then so they do, and, you know, and then it's, right, right. Manuscript. Yeah, I mean, and then you have to hold on to them. It's, yeah, yeah. And mhm. That's hard to know. I mean, we say Matthew was Levi, the disciple, but we have no concrete proof that Matthew was the writer. We just don't. Of Matthew. Yeah, those names are assigned, and we go, yeah, we don't know. Oh, I just, it just, Mark is real quick about what he talks about. He's not interested in long parts at all. He's Marcus. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even introduce the nativity. He doesn't even have it. He just starts with John the Baptist. Yeah, don't worry about that kid stuff. Let's go. Yeah. Earlier. Yeah, it's well, yeah, so I was 10ish. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it could be yeah, it could be right around 64 with the fall of the temple. That's where I kind of put it. Mhm. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, there was, there were more than just the 12, but they were his the I guess, he had kind of it was, it was kind of a Ponzi scheme, but not a Ponzi scheme. I knew that was coming, y'all, so I got out in front of it. Okay. Okay, so the ultimate issue is I think the answer that Lisa's right, that they're both right for who they're trying to address, what they're trying to address, and how they're trying to get at what they're getting at. That Matthew really probably, I mean, and after I read a couple weeks ago one of the articles that said, yeah, we always say that Matthew was for Jewish folks who had converted to Christianity, and now we don't really think that. I'm like, I'm not so ready to let go of that notion. But that they were also probably a community of faith that had more economic resources than Luke's. Luke is always in favor of the poor. And a lot of times throughout the Old Testament, so is God. So I'm not saying that that's not kind of in line with everything else, but that Luke is kind of addressing people where they are. He even comes down to them on the plain instead of going up on the mountain. Yeah. And so Matthew, I guess in it what I hear is that it that that when our congregation, where most people in this congregation by standards of the world, we are not hurting in any way, shape, or form. I mean, individuals may have economic issues in their life, but as a whole, I think it's safe to say we're, compared to Haiti, we're going to be okay. But it does not mean that we don't have situations where we don't have poorness or hurt in our lives that economics can't fix. There are also people, who come into the building on Mondays, who hurt financially, that also are just people, dear people who fit in here. Ran into one just the other day, and I know her. I've known her most of my life, and just a dear heart of a person. But just her life economically has been a struggle, but also has this amazing sense of goodness about her, and this sense of faith that I don't have, that I'm pretty impressed by. So that she's able to keep going. So I would say each one has their place in the moment. Because you're right, if we just have Luke, the word for all y'all today is whoa. And me too. I mean, comparatively speaking to everybody. Um, but over here, I mean, and because I'm very seldom hungry, and I know if I get hungry, I just go get something to eat. But this notion, then so, what should play in is, whew. But do I hunger for righteousness? So this one might put me on edge too, if we think about it. Am I meek? Do I even want to be meek? Let's ask ourselves that question. Because we sit around and going, man, meek. I don't want to be meek. Meek doesn't even sound good. Yeah, until the end. Yeah, that's right. And, got to say that before. Oh, my time's up. But I've got to say that too. Do we read these things and beyond inscription on pillars, do we think these things are even actually accurate? Do we really, really, really hold to that as the church and how we live? Just a thought. Okay, let's pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for your scripture that challenges us, comforts us, pushes us to places in our faith that we need to be as a congregation and as individuals.